Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Siemons. I'm the president of MDARC, the Mount Diablo Amateur Radio Club, and the co-chair of this event, along with Paula Costa. And we have a particularly special evening for you here, the Friday night evening MDARC meeting. What we've done is we've gathered together, I think, 4 of the finest examples of new media Elmers, podcasters, if you will, or folks that are using the latest in technology to get the word out about amateur radio, to help educate us, enlighten us, entertain us quite a bit. And so we have brought together some really fun guys that I think that you're going to enjoy. The first person I want to bring up here, and actually, before we do that, actually, we have a very special message. We have a very special message from Leo Laporte. Anyone know Leo Laporte? Heard of him? Like him? Yeah. Yeah. So Leo Laporte, Whiskey 6 TWT, twit. He sent us a special message that he wanted to just say hello, so I'm hoping that maybe we could run that.
Thank you, Gordo. Hello, Pacificon. Leo Laporte here, W6TWT. I'm sorry I can't be at Pacificon this year. We had such a great time last year, but I'm so glad that Gordo is there representing Ham Nation, our great ham show that we do every week on the TWIC network. You got to tune in, by the way, if you get a chance. You can get previous episodes at twic.tv/hamnation, but you can also watch us do the show live every Wednesday evening, right about 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time. All the hams gather. We've got ham news. We've got a how-to segment. George shows us his smoke and solder segment, how to put stuff together. It's really a lot of fun for every amateur radio enthusiast. Just like Pacificon, just like Gordon. Is he down there, or is he over here? Where are you, Gordon? Anyway, I'm sorry I can't be there, but it's great to see you. Have a great Pacificon 7-3 from W6TWT. Back to you, Gordon.
That was really cool. That was really, really cool. You know, 7-3 right back to you there. You know, it was kind of fun. Actually, Leo came to an MDARC meeting and passed his VE test there and got his technician and general class licenses, and it was really cool. I got to be one of the VEs in that and sign his ticket, so that was a really fun and thrilling evening. We have a first of our Elmers I'd like to introduce tonight is a person who you probably know as Gordo, but my wife won't let me call him that. She says that's disrespectful, that I must call him Gordon West. But I have to tell you that all of our famous podcasters have sent in videos, but I think that you'll find that Gordo's or Gordon's is higher quality, higher resolution, almost lifelike, using the latest in high fidelity video equipment. And so let's roll his video now.
Hi there, welcome to Pacificon. This is Gordo, pre-recorded, live and direct. But you know, James, most important, we need to know who's out there. So as if this were a contest on 20 meters, and we had band conditions like we did a week ago, let's hear who's going to bust the pile up. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, no. This is 20 meters. This is Pacificon. Come on, let's hear those call signs. 1, 2, 3. Oh, they're called tail enders, and you did a good job. All right, well, welcome to our first meeting of the Club of Pacificon. Gordo here, live and direct, no video. And Leo Laporte wanted to say how pleased he was with all the hard work that you folks have put in the chat room and on Ham Nation being there for all of us. And he's made this special request, and thanks to Don. How many were tracking Don and Gordo as we were flying all over Los Angeles? That was pretty scary. L.A. to Reno to Mount Lassen. Donnie, how'd you do it, buddy? He did it at 80. Well, anyway, this is what ham radio is about. We met some great hams along the way, and most important, we had a lot of hams working with us to make this trip successful. So the fact that you're here tonight, we want to thank you all for being here. And Leo Laporte says if you've got a 3 to 5 minute video, and we've got several of you that are the video experts, send them to us, and we would like to try and air them on Ham Nation. So James, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and thanks for having me on board. And your mic is dead, so you're out of luck. There you go. Anyway, does James and his whole team deserve a great round of applause? Yeah. Fabulous job. Pacificon 2012. Here we come.
You're too nice. You're too nice. No, please. You don't have to run away. You get to stay, please. Yeah, I'm not done with you yet. Well, another fantastic podcaster. I mean, we'll get into more details about Gordo. Here's a time we're kind of turning the cameras around on them. They're interviewing other people and talking and finding out what they think is interesting for us. We're going to turn it around and find out what's interesting about them. Yeah. So we have next Chris Matthew, who hails from Phoenix, Arizona. N7ICE, the Iceman. Chris. Oh, he's tweeting it. Well, he is a new media Elmer. This is what they do. That's too cool. Come on up. Come on up. Well, we got a video here for Chris. Why don't we run that?
Hey Ham Geeks, welcome to Ham Brief, episode 13. I'm with my son on the way to the candy store. It's my birthday today, and my wonderful wife said I could have any ham radio I want over there. So let's go, see what they have. Alright, there's HRO. Look at the antenna. Seems like, I mean, for the versatile, someone's just looking for something that they can take out with them, move it in the truck, take it outside. One of these form factors. Made the purchase, made it home, so now we gotta tell Mom. Honey! Hey fellow ham geeks, welcome to Ham Brief, episode 15. I passed my general license today, so let's have fun on some HF. So this is what it looks like when you get your Certificate of Successful Completion of Examination, N7ICE stroke AG. Okay, well, I had a lot of fun today. I didn't actually make any contacts. I did hear a lot of people on 20 meter and 40 meter as well. But I guess it was a lot like fishing, you know. I had a lot of fun doing the ham radio. Hey fellow ham geeks, welcome to Ham Brief, episode 35. It's the ARRL Field Day today in the United States, and we're live out here at the Arizona Science Center. And hi, we've got some volunteers, and we have someone that actually works here. Morse code keys to teach kids how to do CW. We also have a sheet here with contacts from that they've been making on the HF rigs out here.
Keep going.
Kindergarten. Oh!
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes, sir.
Hey, fellow ham geeks. I'm Chris Matthiew, N7ICE here. I was at a ham fest not too long ago, and I caught up with Bryson, KC7LED. We talked to him about launching a high-altitude air balloon. So, here it is. Check it out. That is way cool.
That's where we are at the Ham Fest, and here's the balloon right up here.
Okay.
We have our altitude 25,000 feet currently.
So 73s, everybody. Thank you for listening to Ham Brief.
Awesome. That's just awesome. That was awesome. So that's some of the fun stuff that's out there. And our next guest is a person who's come to Pacificon many years and has contributed a lot to Pacificon. Has filmed a lot of segments and put us on a lot of podcasts, which is really cool. And Randy Hall. Why don't we roll Randy's video if we could here? K7AGE.
What part of the shopping cart is that? Yeah.
This is the, I don't know if you'll be able to see it at all. Probably not.
What do we have here? This is your palm.
This is my palm.
3 minutes to AOS. Hi, Randy here, K7AGE. I'm going to try my own satellite pass here. Kilowatt 7 Alpha Golf Echo.
K7 Alpha Golf Echo from WA7 Echo Tango Hotel Charlie Nancy 88.
We've all exchanged QSL cards for our eyeball. Hi, Randy here, K7AGE. Today we're going to do an introduction to PSK31. My goal is to get you receiving PSK31 in a very few minutes. 14070. We're going to make the sound card interface to the radio. Now watch this. This is very high tech. We take the microphone and I'm just going to put it on the speaker. So to tune on this one over here, which apparently looks to be fairly strong, I just click in the red here. Turn it over to Jerry, KD0BIK, K7AGE.
Good afternoon, Randy. Very nice to finally get a chance to talk to you on the air. Very much appreciative to you and your efforts through your YouTube videos. Hello to everyone else that's going to be watching this recorded YouTube video. The name here is Jerry. That's Juliet Echo Romeo.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Randy. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, these guys are the real deal. And fourth up on our lineup is a person that actually couldn't come out here today, but I really wanted him to be here. So we figured out a way. We worked as a team, and we made this happen. And we have Jerry Taylor, KD0BIK. And Jerry, why don't we bring you up? Okay, there you are. He's Skyping himself in from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. Hey, Jerry. And over the last several years, Jerry and I have become pretty good friends, and we communicate a lot and send little messages back and forth and emails and whatnot, and keeps me abreast of what's going on. He has a fantastic podcast called the Practical Amateur Radio Podcast, which has been really instrumental for me in progressing in amateur radio, and I follow it quite a bit, as I do with all of your bodies of work, to be honest, and that's kind of why you're here, Anywho, so Jerry, hello.
Hello, Jim. How are you? Hello, Randy. Hello, Chris. Hello, Gordo.
Hey,
Good to be here with you guys through the magic of Skype.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Was it an hour later over there?
Yes, sir, but that's okay.
Okay. We'll make you hot cocoa later. Okay. We'll be good. Well, you know, the first question I just want to throw out there, I think it's the obvious question is, you guys are all good hams, and one day you woke up and you said, you know, I want to share this great feeling I have inside with the world. I want to help be an Elmer, which to me I think is the greatest thing that a ham can be, as an Elmer. And you guys took it to kind of a whole new level, whole new technological level. Why? How? Let's start with you, Gordon.
Okay, I'll need your mic.
Aren't all the mics hot? They should. No. Are you serious?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. But that's okay. He's going to figure it out right on the spot. Ham Nation began with the invite of the Twit studio to Leo Laporte, and Randy was one of our very first to get things going, and it doesn't work.
I'm half Italian. I'm stubborn.
And our first show with Bob Heil was an amazing hit, because we found out that we had a lot of great viewers like yourselves, and the chat room is what keeps us moving, and we appreciate. So if you've tuned in to Ham Nation Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, make that chat room happen, because it keeps us on our toes. Now, the Iceman, a few words about your video and audio.
Well, thank you, Gordo. I've been following you forever, since before I had my license.
I've been watching you, buddy.
20 years ago or more. Yeah, so I started 73s.org. Now it's 73s.com. We've bought the .com version almost 5 years ago. And we've been in the trenches with Randy, Jerry, Gordo all this time. It was really the advent of Twitter and Facebook, and saw an opportunity to get our ham message out further. Get younger engineers, more interested in these types of technologies, and I've always said that ham radio was the first social network, so why not build one online and call it 73s.com? And we've got over 5,000 registered users today. It's very much like Facebook, but you can track your gear, you can talk, you can track your QSOs. So it's a Facebook for hams.
Very good. Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Jim, here for inviting us all tonight. It's going to be a great night here. And I kind of got started on this just kind of out of a whim. I was going on a business trip to Beijing, and so I got my camera and I recorded a bunch of stuff in my ham shack and threw everything in my suitcase. And one morning when I was over there at 3 in the morning when I couldn't sleep, I plugged the stuff in the computer, and it brought in my tape, and the little Windows editor opened it up, and I pieced together the video, and I uploaded it from the hotel room in Beijing, and came back the next day, and there's a couple hundred views. And and ham radio on YouTube is a very small niche. So I started producing a lot of videos of just me operating DX stations and showing a map and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I got into the videos how to do something that it really took off. And that first PSK series, and there's 4 or 5 videos in that I show how to set the transmitter up, they just went nuts. There's I think close to 200,000 views in each one of those PSK videos, and I get emails all the time, and those are like 4 to 5 years old now, and people are getting on PSK for the first time. They say it's easier to see it in the video than it is to read it in the book. So the satellite series has become very successful, doing the contacts. I want to do something simple like how to build a quarter wave ground plane with just a connector and some wire for the new hams to get them off their HT antennas. So I want to get back to doing more of the how to do type of videos.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
I have a question for Randy. How many views do you think you have total, like across all of YouTube, all your videos? It's got to be a big number.
It's a little over 2.2 million total views. Over 6,500 subscribers. I get between 600 to 1,200 views a day, and 3 to 7 new subscribers a day. So
that's more people that live in your county. Jeez, you should run for mayor or something. Jerry, how did you get into it?
Well, like many, I've known about amateur radio all of my life, but I was late making it. I got my license in 2007, thanks to Gordon West and his study materials. I was listening to a few amateur radio podcasts because listening to podcasts was something that I would do in my spare time or just for white noise in the office and the lab, that sort of thing. And I wanted to give something back to the hobby, so I started the Practical Radio podcast in 2008, and really at that time there were about 2 or 3 audio podcasts that like Solder Smoke, Resonant Frequency, which was kind of geared toward the more advanced amateur radio operator, and I really wanted to develop something that would help the beginner hams and or use as a vehicle to help promote the hobby to get people interested in amateur radio. And so that's what I did almost 5 years ago. And this month I will release my 60th episode, 60. So I'm very excited about that.
Hey,
and
right.
That's
awesome.
Thank you. And I do a weekly version, which is called Part Plus, which is kind of an audio magazine sort of style podcast, which I go through a list of special event stations and contests and have an effort to try to get people that may not otherwise know about special events or contests that's happening during their commute because maybe they don't have time to actually go out to the websites and look on all the calendar and everything. And then I do a monthly educational version, which is the regular PARP episode, and that's what I will be releasing, episode 60, in just a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Hey, and I like your man cave ham shack that you got there. That's all right.
Yeah, this is something that I started very soon after I started the podcast, because one other thing that I would like to mention is a lot of my inspiration for my audio podcast was due to Randy's YouTube videos, and I owe a great deal to Randy and his PSK videos, because it was those PSK videos which encouraged me to study. I got my technician license in August of 2007 and upgraded to general in January of 2008 because I worked PSK 31, obviously on the 20-meter band and such, and so that encouraged me to do that. And but the new ham shack, which I've talked about, I've probably bored people to death on the podcast and on my blogs. I started this very soon after I started podcasting. Yeah. And it's taken about 4 years to create, to finish, and it's about 95% done. And
well, you did a great job.
Truly love it down here. It's a great place to use as a home office, as a study, as a man cave, and to actually
yeah, I like the home office excuse. That's good. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, that's right. No, that's right. That's what you tell the IRS, I'm sure. Anyway, here's one thing about you guys, all of you, is that so you got started out. You all had the same idea. You were gonna, spread the love. Okay, here a little bit of amateur radio. But you all had a little different angle on it. I don't know if it's your personality. I mean, like you have, Gordo over here with compulsive shyness, and but somehow we got him out, and a little Prozac and calmed him down, and so I mean, so all you guys, you come out and do this, but you all have a little different bent. I didn't get my ham license because of Gordo's work, but my wife and my daughter did. But I did get my commercial license because of Gordo's work, and I've done all sorts of crazy stuff with my VX8 on my Yaesu because of you. I've sent tweets and emails and received, and people are going, "You're doing what with that? What? What's yeah, the ham radio." Is that legal? That's another question. We're not going there. Right? Not tonight. And certainly, there were so many things which I thought were impossible to me. The lay, amateur operator, I'm not going to be able to do that. And you showed me that the technology is accessible, and that if you just do these things and think about it and put the stuff together like this, you can do it. And you show failures and you show successes. So you say, I'm just a real guy doing this, and it's doable by everybody, and that's pretty cool. And Jerry the same way, is that when I was just starting out, is this really even possible? He tells you from the basics all the way through the advanced, kind of what to do and the rules of the road, and that's really, really cool how we play wrong. I mean, but how did you determine? I mean, when you started out, when you decided to set your brand, I guess is well they call it nowadays, right? How did you decide how you were going to make your niche? Gordo.
We started out with the Twit Studios that gave us a good lesson on good video, good audio, good lighting. Don Arnold, W6 GPS, came over and he says, no, you need better audio, better lighting. So we had plenty of ham radio critiques, both live as well as in the chat room. But what we learned, at least as one of the hosts on the show, along with Bob Heil and George and Cheryl and all of the others on Ham Nation, was it really depends on all the hams surrounding us, helping us with the show. And we thank Don and all of the others that have helped. Tomorrow morning, I've got a show here at 7 a.m. How many are going to be here at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning? Left side, I need 2 9-volt batteries, or else I will fail tomorrow morning. 2 9-volt batteries. Good. Forget it. You ain't got this one, Randy. Right side, without you, my blazing pickle will not blaze. I need the biggest mama pickle you can find. So right side, I'm in need of a blazing pickle, kosher or regular. But that's what makes our shows work, is everybody. Oh, you got one of those too, Randy? So help me out, unless you want to see a real dud for a demo. Well, you might with Gordo. Then help us out. We do need 1 pickle or 2. Now, have you ever had that happen on your show where you really needed something and hams came through?
Bubblegum. I build antennas, and I end up, bubblegum is always the magic ingredient to stick the close hanger into the SO239.
There you go. Yeah.
It works, right?
Bubblegum and an SO239.
Yeah, so I talked about 73s a little bit, but hambrief.tv is my podcast, and I think I have upwards of almost 80 videos.
Wow.
And I'm a programmer. I'm a software developer, hacker, some would even call me. So I try to bring that element to ham radio. The good kind of hacker, yeah, like let's build something crazy, like let's tweet from our ham radios via APRS. We can do that, right? I had a guy that tweeted through the International Space Station, through 73s to Twitter, and and then bounced it from Twitter to Facebook. I was like, this is like getting out of control. But I wanted to point out that this group, we're so closely niched together to help each other, support each other. There's never been an era of competition. Jerry and I think started probably about the same time with our podcast, and we've encouraged each other over the years. Keep going, brother. Don't stop. You're too far to stop. So, yeah, it is. It is.
There have been some great podcasts that have come along, made a few episodes, and then where'd it go? Where'd it go? I mean, how do you guys prevent that? Because all of you guys are still kicking it, making it happen.
Well, that's something that kind of happens. I've gone through years where I may have only posted 4 or 5 videos, and then, I get the interest going again, and get active and start posting it, and I get the emails back, and the people are watching it. So that just kind of helps to feed on itself. I've been putting up a lot this year, more than I have in the last couple of years, but just doing more and more of it. So.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. How do you deal with that, Jerry?
Well, Jim, one thing, and I did PodFade a period of time, as you know, and so many of my loyal listeners that I really want to say thank you, who sent me emails, sent me tweets, posted on Facebook, and really encouraged me back. But the one thing that I learned was could not be a podcaster about amateur radio if I was not active in amateur radio. And what happened to me was the time that work, projects and everything at work, some such, really got in the way, and I wasn't able to get to Ham Shack, and I wasn't, so therefore, you know, I was going to continue to podcast because I wasn't experiencing of amateur radio. I found that it was very difficult for me to podcast, you know, actually to podcast a hobby. And so now that I'm as active as I've been, I set a goal for myself this year to have 1 QSO per day for this year.
Yay.
It could be as simple as a JT65 contact. It could be PSK31. It could be a test QSO on HF. Anything that would actually get me into the Ham Shack each and every day.
Does 2 meter count?
2 meter counts if I'm standing on a Summits on the air, so to summit.
Oh, there's rules.
Yeah, I did say a repeater contact wouldn't work, but if I put the effort in to actually climb a mountain out here in Colorado and stand up on the summit and make a 2 meter contact, then I would count that as my QSO for the. But the one thing that I've really tried to do with the Practical Amateur Radio podcast is, you know, I come up with this saying that I've said for almost 5 years now, creating Elmers one podcast at a time. And what I've really wanted to try to encourage is that anybody in Elmer, you don't have to be in the hobby for, you know, 20, 40 years. You could be a brand new ham, and if you understand something well enough to be able to share that information secretly with someone else, you can Elmer. And really just that simple, and that's one of the things that I've really tried to do is encourage people to take something, learn it well enough, go out and teach someone else, and let's share the magic of amateur radio.
Hey, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. You know, I would say that I wouldn't quite give your signal report a 5 and 9 there, but you know what? Your ideas are absolutely coming through, and I appreciate that. Now, you know, when you're creating these podcasts, I mean, how much time does it take? It has to take a lot of time. I mean, there's prep time. You have to figure. Yeah, I mean, you just can't say, "Hey, I'm going to do something on PSK," and just go turn on the camera and say, "Here's a radio and there's a," you know, I mean, or whatever. I mean, you know, Gordo, you put together a very sophisticated podcast. It's an ensemble cast. It's you got people coming in from all over the place with something better than our poor connection here with Jerry but you know, you got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, and you edit stuff just like crazy. How do you do that?
Actually, it's Bob Heil that lays out the script for us. We talk about it a week ahead of time. We pull off the podcast. But, you know, there's one element to our podcast that we really found that clicked, and that is the live net. Thanks to Michael here. Give Mike a hand. Oh, Mike's like Mr. 40 meters. And we have others. Mike has many net controllers and Bill on 20 meters, but we find that we learn a lot from our listeners. And you know what the listeners like best about our cast lately is that we have more video and less talking heads. And that was something I told to Bob Weil. When you watch the news, they aren't looking for people just yakking reading the news. They want to see that crash. They want to see that liftoff. So now we try and minimize our smiling mugs and give you more video with maybe audio over it, but not just a plain old face shot. So that way when Mike takes over the 40-meter net, we actually blend his audio in at the end of our podcast, and he's got an audience, I don't know, we went over 100, right, Mike? What a job. So this is, you are the heroes of our podcast, and thank you, Mike, and others that have joined in. So what's your secret, huh?
But, you know, there is a lot of homework. You know, to do a really interesting show, it takes planning and takes experimentation. So, I mean, if you're trying to show a technology, especially something cutting edge, you have to figure out how to do it. Like Jerry said, you have to be able to teach it, you know, just to other people watching it. I mean, I can think of this one hack that I did. It's basically, I put an ID1 D-Star radio in my truck, and an access point, a wireless access point that says 73s on it. And I fired up the DSL connection through D-Star to the internet, so I could surf the internet from my iPod. And I did a whole video on that, to show what ham radio technology could do. This is digital, wireless, modern tech. So that took a couple of weekends to like get everything together, and then you have to film it, right? And I don't have a road crew. You probably still don't have much of one either, so you're out there trying to remote control it, and there you go. So yeah, it takes a lot of prep. But at the end of the day, if you remember the montage that Randy put together, I didn't make any contacts that day. I try to stay authentic. So even if I get to the point where there's lots of bugs or errors, it's like it is what it is. You don't always catch a fish.
892 this last hour. Who would have known? That's right.
Did people see the Mars video that I did?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful one.
Well, if you haven't seen it, I kind of did a little takeoff on the Curiosity with the first picture from the Mars, and I used slow scan, so it's going down and you see the picture. But at the beginning of the video, I had this idea I wanted to get a signal from Mars. I know that on a couple of the programs you can do your call sign, have it show up in the waterfall. So here I am, I want to hurry up and do this thing, but I have to figure out FL Digi to get that thing to work, hooked into my 817 with one computer with a coax running over with a dummy load by my K3, playing with the P3 to get it to spread out to say news from Mars or something like that in order to put that together. So it probably took me 4 or 5 hours just for that little 20-second waterfall thing to work, and I'm in a hurry. I want to get this thing done. So I had a lot of crazy people from that. I asked Steve WG0AT, have you seen his videos where he takes his pack goats up into the mountains here? He and Chris and the guys from Buddy Pole went out to the Marconi site a couple years ago, and they wanted to get across the Atlantic with 5 watts QRP. And Steve put together this video. It's great. It's about 6 minutes long. It has original Marconi footage in there and all this stuff. And I said, I know how long it takes me. How long did it take you to edit that? And I think he said about 35 hours for a 5-minute piece.
Yeah, I hear something like 8 hours or something for every hour you do, or something editing and massaging after the post, But just to let you know that Steve WG0AT is here at Pacificon and will be speaking tomorrow, actually after you. So and before you. Yeah, so that's really cool. And there will be Peanut and Rooster will be here. I don't know if you check them at the airport. Don't want to know. Anyway, they're going to be here, and so everyone can come and see Peanut and Rooster. Jerry, how do you figure all this out?
Well, it's not quite as difficult for an audio only podcast as it is for the video guys, obviously. But I put quite a considerable amount of time into the cast. I write everything out from a script, which kind of helps me stay focused. It eliminates the ums and such. And I had a very positive experience about 2 weeks ago. I had a gentleman who was actually deaf contact me via email to ask me if my scripts were available. And I had posted the transcripts before because no one had ever asked for them. But because I had everything already scripted out, I would have just put together a download for him to have that transcript. But I would say, easily a couple of hours of research to put everything together, an hour or so to recording, to do the editing, and to get everything online. So yeah, I mean, it's not something that we can just go and do in 10 or 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later. It's a lot of work. It's a labor of love, and I think we'll all agree that it's not easy either. But it's so enjoyable to get emails from people that say, I got my license thanks to you, or you really helped me out with this problem. And I don't know how many of the other panelists like Randy and Chris and Joe, but I received tons of emails with questions. Some of these questions are as simple as, what I get from my first radio versus how should I deal with these HOA covenants that I have, etc. So it's the labor of love, and it's something that I very much enjoy doing.
Awesome. You know, actually, there's a real expense to amateur radio, real expense to doing what you do, because you have to be we're on the cutting edge. Amateur radio, by definition, you're on the cutting edge. What you're doing, you have to be on the bleeding edge and drag us over that cliff or something, you know. So so you have to go and buy stuff and figure stuff out, and then to perhaps host it and all this kind of stuff, the equipment that you got to buy. I mean, there's real expenses involved. Coming around to Pacificon, you know, there's bills to be paid. I mean, so how do you deal with that? Honestly, why don't we start there?
First of all, I have a wife that understands and supports my hobby, so. And she says, just as long as everything else is taken care of, I can go ahead and play. So, other than that, you know, I'm very fortunate. I can buy the equipment I want. If I want to go out and buy the high-end Sony software, I do it one kind of piece at a time over years and upgrades and go through various cameras and stuff. And it's my hobby, you know, doing this as well as the radio. So it's just what I enjoy doing. I'm from a technical broadcasting background from a manufacturing point of view, so I understand that whole process. Being on this side of the microphone is different.
I think sometimes having the show is an excuse to go buy fun new gear. Yeah, I would echo what Randy said. I mean, if the wives weren't behind us, you know, yeah, we would be in a lot of trouble. Yeah, you know, but the really satisfaction, I think Jerry hit it on the head too, is that when you get those emails or those letters of encouragement. One time someone sent me $100 like on the site, like as just to say, hey, or thanks, I know it's expensive to do, just please accept this. And you get that, and when you hear people join the ham radio family or community or go take their tests, I mean, I can only imagine what type of rewards you get just from seeing so many people with your taking your tests and your study courses and feedback. Because, you know, if I just see one person, you know, come across the line and get their ham radio license, I mean, that to me makes it all worth what we do.
Wow. I never got $100. Doggone it. I gotta learn his technique. With Ham Nation, Bob Heil has been very generous, and he's taken our lousy audio and have given us base price dealer costs on his microphone and the Lexus mixers. And Don Arnold, he's the one that said, your computer sucks. Yeah, so I guess that meant it was not up to grade, so Don finally got us the right computer, and we now up the speed. But it's worth it. It is worth it. So it's just one of those things that we enjoy contributing. And boy, tonight gets me all fired up to even do more. But I'm still looking for that $100.
I just noticed Scott, KA3DRR, is in the audience. He was a big encouragement to me from day one. I mean, you know, saying, hey, you're onto something, keep it up. Thank you, Scott.
I just want to repeat the emails. We get them, you know, all the time. Oh, yeah. I'll have people who say, you know, I let my license go 10 years ago. I stumbled across you on YouTube somehow. I'm getting back involved again. How do I do that? I tweeted the other day saying, I'm going to Pacificon. What do you guys want to see this year? Because I'm not sure I want to do the same type of videos that I did last year. And I got a tweet from a guy in Afghanistan says, oh, wow. He says everything. So we're really tying it with a lot of the Twitter and tweet stuff. I think I have about 1,500 followers, and we're getting messages, Chris and I, tonight and the weekend, you know, while we're here about what's going on. So we use that to, you know, take and promote all of this type of material. Jerry's on there too, and you know, a bunch of the other guys. So.
Yeah, Jerry, it is expensive, and why don't you say something on that, please?
Yeah, it certainly is, and unfortunately, when I decided to buy my Heil PR40, I didn't have the luxury of having any of those Mr. Bob Heil. I tried to try to, you know, some of the expenses, because, you know, you're absolutely right. There is a monthly cost that's my checkbook single month to host the webs, to host the files and everything, and you know, I've tried a couple of things. When I first started, I used one of the less expensive web hosts, and I found that as I started getting popularity, I started to have issues with site being down because of bandwidth issues or whatnot. And it's a good problem to have, because I need people to listen to the podcast as they certainly want to. But, you know, I view this as an extension of the hobby for me. It's something that I very much enjoy doing. One of the things that I do in the local Colorado area is I leave WG02AT out with some of the summits on the air. So I'm the Central Colorado General Manager, which just means that I help Steve out with the Central Colorado region. I'm just going out and promoting summits on the air to various clubs and stuff. And so, you know, using the podcast and using everything that I'm doing with regards to that, summits on the air, trying to tie everything together. It's part of the hobby, and it's just something that I enjoy giving back to the hobby. And by the way, would you please tell Scott 3DRR that I say help?
That's too cool. You know, the deal is, though, is that what is like the funniest things that ever happened? There has to have been something just like you put together and you look at it and you go, that's got to be kind of crazy. You know, something you produced. I mean, that was pretty funny in the parking lot with the antenna and everything. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that video where there's a bunch of us, including Jeffrey, who's sitting over here, who's in that one of the clips here you saw. We get together every Friday morning before work for coffee, and one day, it was about 3-4 years ago, the satellite was coming over, so we all took out our stuff to try and do the pass. Well, everything went wrong. Grover had the wrong Latin Lounge in his Palm Pilot for the satellite tracking. He had Massachusetts, so the satellite was on the other side of the country. Jeffrey didn't have his 817 program to make the antennas work right, and it just everything went wrong. But I've given a satellite talk at several clubs now, and I use that video as the lead-in, because we're going to learn from our mistakes. And I go through, you know, what happened. Then I talk about how to do the tracking, how to make sure you get your splits and your offsets and all that stuff with the radio. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
There's always something. It's like no matter what you do, you're always running into something weird. Like you know, when I build the bubblegum antenna, you know, it's like you go to make a test call, like no one comes back to you. It's like, is it my bubblegum or is there no one on the air, you know?
Is it the brand Bubblicious is better than Juicy Fruit or something?
You know, so then later someone comes back and I try to edit so like it wasn't my antenna, but there's always something, you know. My daughter, she hates being on video. She's 16 right now, and so she's always ducking when I come around with the video, like hiding from it. So I mean, it is a lot of fun.
Ham Nation, April 1st, April Fool's Day, I rigged up a long hose to a smoke machine, and this was right after Georgia Smoke and Solder. And I had it coming out of Ray's brand new ICOM 9100. We lit it off, and I continued to talk, and this ICOM is smoking like a mama, and the chat room lit up. Everybody got real excited. Then I announced that it was just an April Fool's joke, and we turned off the fog machine. The neighbor next door looking in through my window called the fire department. So on camera, you can see the red lights coming in, and everybody thought it was staged, and the fire department was not happy, but it was one April Fool's joke.
That is awesome. Well, did you have any sirens and lights, Jerry, there in Colorado? That would be colorful Colorado.
Nothing, thankfully.
But that, you know, so you do this, you put this stuff out. Where do you go from here? How do you keep the new ideas, you know, in the front of your brain? What do you you know, you figured it out. You figured out how to not pod fade, but how do you keep coming up with new and exciting ideas? I mean, you guys do. You just don't run out. But how do you do it?
Well, I want to retire so I have more time to do this stuff and play around. So that would be a great help. But you know, the ideas are there. It's just, you know, putting it together. So let's just keep cranking them out and listening to people. You know, what type of things they want to see. Yeah, what do you guys want to see us do? let us know here during the show.
Does your viewers and stuff give you a lot of the ideas like, hey, I really want this, or have you ever considered doing that? Go to Tucson.
I get a lot of people say, can you do a review on XYZ radio? I go, well, I don't have one of those.
Send me one.
Send me one, yeah. But then you really got to do something when that box shows up. So it's kind of you really got to.
How much do XYZs, and do they have a matching amplifier?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I use Twitter, I use Facebook a lot, and you do get a lot of feedback from there. The more followers you get, the more active your community is, the more vocal they are about the ideas. I did also one time reach out to ICOM and asked if I could review some equipment, and they sent me one. So I think those options are there that we could probably start exploring a little bit more. Maybe start here at Pacificon, go into vendor booths. There you go.
And we take our cues from the numbers. They closely track at Twit Studios how many viewers are looking and how many have seen some of the recorded casts. And we know when we've laid an egg, and it's usually due to talking heads. And we know we've had a success when we have mostly video and few talking heads. So I tell Bob and George and so on, cut the headshots and go with the video.
I'll just say the chat room is fantastic. I probably have my eyes on that chat room more during the show than watching the video. I can listen to what these guys are talking about, but there's all sorts of stuff going on in the chat room. I see people asking questions. I'm jumping in there, answering them and stuff like that, and just, really supporting the new guys. So.
Yeah, Jerry, you wanna put an exclamation point on that?
Sure, you bet. Sort of what to some of the others have said, I take a lot of cues from listeners. I'm also very active in social media, again, using Twitter, using Facebook, using Google Plus as a mechanism to help try to spread the word about my podcast, but also promote amateur radio and the hobby and the service of amateur radio. But I also get a lot of encouragement from attending and being active in my club meetings, also going to Hamfest here in the local area. Going next summer, it'll be the weekend field day, will be the ARRL Rocky Mountain Convention for Colorado and Wyoming, New Mexico, and Utah. It will actually take place in Estes Park, so that'll be a good opportunity to go and meet face to face with a lot of fellow amateurs and also get some encouragement and some ideas. But again, like I said earlier, being active in the hobby and taking some of the things that I experience, whether it be a contest, summits on the air activation, or just some trial and error. Something's not working right in my ham shack, figuring out what that problem is, and then turning that into a lessons learned test so that others, if encounter that particular problem, will have some resource to understand how to fix it and how to correct it.
Well, that makes sense. But okay, so you guys have a lot of fun doing this. But there's a serious side to amateur radio, too. Do you guys get involved a lot in MCOM and things like that? And you want to talk a little bit about that, if you do, and how you do it?
I'm going to pass on that. I haven't been involved in one of those activities in a long time. So.
Yeah, I haven't either. With work, full-time jobs, families, ham radio, like entertainment is like down to here. And when there is an emergency type situation, I think all of us, we're reminded that that's priority for the ham community, but I've not done like a formal MCOM yet.
And indeed, MCOM is so important, and those of you that live in areas where the local municipalities embrace amateur radio, you're in a great area. In Southern California, where they've got APCO 25 encrypted, scrambled, and backups to backups, we have a hard sell of ham radio, but we try. We work very closely with the Red Cross and the Coast Guard Auxiliary, Navy, Marine, Mars, NNNNNNNNs, and this is what ham radio is about, is just trying to fill every little niche that we can.
Yep, help out.
Yeah, Jerry, you're involved in MCOM. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was something that I wanted to get involved in because it was one of the memories that I had of being a small child, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and riding around with my uncle, who was my inspiration to get my license. And by the way, if I may share a very proud moment for me, I worked my uncle for the very first time. He lives in Texas. I'm obviously in Colorado, and worked him during the Colorado USO party. Now, my uncle has been licensed for, I believe, about 55 years. He is primarily, and I won't even use the word primary, he is CW only. He actually go and dig out a microphone so that he can operate me in the QSO. And I received his QSL call.
Hey, all right. That is too cool.
Some really cool DX. I worked some DX on a summer activation when I didn't even mix it on 5 watts, but I think, most proud of that QSO because it was something that sort of fulfilled a childhood dream to be able to do. But back to your more specific question, Jim, you're right. You know, I wanted to also give back to the local community. I live in the city and county of Denver. Very, very proud to be a citizen here. And, you know, like some of you guys in Colorado and in Arizona, you know, we have wildfire dangers and other, you know, just other things as being part of a major city. And back in the 2008-2009 timeframe, I was more active in emergency communications than I am actually now. Back in 2008, I assisted with the emergency communication group, which actually supports the Denver department, and we went and put ourselves over in the 911 center during the Democratic convention that came to Denver back in 2008. It was a moment to be able to serve and you know, be on hand in case something happened. And thankfully, nothing did happen. Now, like Chris and Andy, you know, I have a job, a little bit of traveling with the podcast and everything. I'm not as active in emergency communications at this time as I would like to be, but we slow down. That thing that I want to do again, and again, I want to give back to the local community.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Please.
And I want to say that here at Pacificon, the Saturn demonstration this morning and the afternoon Saturn, you Saturn folks did a fabulous job of exposing those that are not members of IMCOM to think about joining up. So if you're how many members of Saturn do we have here today? Boy, congratulations, Saturn members, for your service.
Saturn is a fantastic organization, and the Mount Diablo Amateur Radio Club and in our local Saturn group, we just work hand in hand. It really is where we work together in training in Elmering, Newton. You know, it really works out really well. Hey, I want to throw it out. Any questions from the audience? Anybody has a question for the Elmers? I got a million more, but so it's not a problem. But no, but when you're putting together these podcasts, and I don't even know how to say this exactly, but have you ever got yourself into kind of a riddle, into a puzzle? Have you ever got kind of playing with amateur radio? You decided that you were going to put together a podcast, and you said, hey, this sounds like a really cool thing. I'm going to really investigate, and I'm going to do something interesting with this. And it just kind of went nowhere. Did that ever happen?
I spent a whole weekend putting together a podcast or a video about PSK and a radio and all this type of stuff and how to make a bunch of things work. And I was doing it in a hurry, and it just came out rotten. And it never got posted, but there went 2, 3, 4 days of effort that just ended up on the cutting room floor.
I think I should try to use most of my footage, even though it may not come out right. But one that strikes me is this whole software-defined radio movement. I mean, it's really cool. I really believe it's the kind of the future of where we're going with this technology. Like Randy, it took me weekends of just trying to get my SDR set up, understand what it was doing, working the filters. But in the end, I think I benefit more from it than the audience that listens to it, because you have to figure it out, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it does take a lot of time.
Yeah, that's the truth. You can't look like an idiot, as I have many times live on the camera trying to do something, in the chat rooms going, he's got the wrong knob.
Yeah, you know, Jerry, you probably want to chime in on this, but can I just kind of add is that that's the tough thing, is that you guys are communicating with people that are experts, geniuses, brilliant people in this field. So when you go, hello, I'm Mr. Wonderful, and you're twisting the knobs, people are going, nah, and you probably get 10,000 emails saying it should have been the left knob at 14.2 degrees. Jerry, I'll throw it to you here.
No, absolutely right. You know, I've got scripts, a podcast, sort of a work in progress, stuff that I've never finished because, you know, it was good at the moment. And the more I got into it, the more that I realized that I didn't feel comfortable enough in presenting the information because I didn't know enough about or, you know, something else. But just like Chris said, so much from information together for podcasts because I actually go out and, back to your question early time, it takes us to put the information together. I will go out and search things and try things and try things over and over, and I will do many times over before I ever put something together and tell someone else about it. Especially, I don't do a lot of video. You know, the Practical Amateur Radio podcast is audio only. I will occasionally do supplemental video stuff if I need to create something, you know, that I can't do in words. For instance, an example of that was when I X3 back in the April time frame. I wanted to show that little baby off, and I wanted to show some that's experimented with PSK1 and the iPad. And so, you know, I can only describe in words so much when I actually need to put that in a video and put it out on YouTube for people to see. You know, it's a learning process, and you know, we make mistakes. You know, one time in an entire podcast episode, I misquoted the national 2-meter calling simplex frequency because I had typed it wrong, and I know what the frequency is, but I put it together wrong, and I'm just sitting there and I'm just reading it, read it wrong, and I was called out. And, you know, I learned a very valuable.
Got it. Hey, just a couple, please.
I was going to say, I've always been fascinated with AMSAT type communications, and that's difficult. Who has like tried and like failed, like doing AMSAT communications? It's this guy who taught me, watching his videos on YouTube, to understand like that there's a better way than trying to hold the radio, the antenna, and the mic, and you know everything. You know, so I love this media, this world that we're living in now, where you have all these people doing amazing things that help, you know, everyone, including us that are also trying to help people. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I have a little story here, but you mentioned SDR, software-defined radio. I was on the airplane flying home from NAB from Las Vegas, and going back to Grass Valley. And up in Grass Valley, there's a lot of video companies. They're all kind of an offshoot from the original Grass Valley groups. I sit down and talking to this fellow, and he's from one of the companies. He's down there working. I'm saying, well, I was, you know, down there, but I was on vacation, just playing around, shooting some videos and stuff, and got talking about the ham radio. He says, you know, I was interested in it a long time ago, and I've been seeing some stuff about these software-defined radio. So we talked about that all the way home on the flight. I got home. You know, I crafted a mail message to him saying, you know, here's ARL for licensing, here's Gordon's site, here's QRZ and the test sites and all this stuff, and you know, good luck. So about a week ago, I started wondering whatever happened to this guy. Did he follow through? And that day, I get an email from him. He says, I just got back. I passed my extra, all the tests in one shot. So now what I want to do is feed them all a bunch of the SDR sites and the open software.
You need to charge more for those books.
You're going to get your 100. Oh, so you never know who's going to be next to you. You can bring up the conversation. Now here's a guy that's probably an extremely sharp, you know, engineer who's going to get involved with SDR and the open source. So hopefully, cool. You know, he'll be contributing to the hobby here. Hopefully soon.
Absolutely. No, that's really cool. Jerry, you wanna take that too?
I've received many emails from people that sort of describe themselves much as I describe myself. somebody that knew about ham radio since they were a child, and for whatever reason, and I'm open about today that one of my struggles as a teenager, my license and myself, but this was back in the late 70s and early 80s, was CW. And that's something that's on my list because it's something that I learned because I want to actually participate in that mode. But I'll receive emails from people that find the podcast website, or they will see my posting on Facebook or on Twitter, and they will say, I'm just like you. I've known about ham radio all of my life, and this, I heard you talking about it, or you tweeted something about it, and it spurred a memory or an idea or whatever, and they go out and they get license, and it's amazing. It's amazing to me to get this kind of feedback from people that say, thank you for exposing the hobby to me. Thank you for, teaching me something. Might be something big, but thank you. And they've gone out and they've got the license and they're having fun, because I think we all agree this hobby is the hobby in the world, and the people that are associated with it, the best people in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. I believe that there's a little fraud that's been perpetrated on us, honestly, really. And the fraud is this, is that you think this hobby is about science and technology and this, and it's not. It's about people. It's all about people. And it brings together some of the coolest, neatest, most interesting people together in a room like this. And you know what? You're all friends, and we're all friends. And that's really cool. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I'm giving a talk tomorrow on Hellschreiber, so I gave it at the local club Monday night just to do a once-through. And as I was putting together the presentation last Saturday, I thought, I haven't used this mode in about 3 years, and I'm going to be talking about it. So I turned on the computer, loaded the software, got the screen recorder to work, and there was a guy calling CQ. I put my call out there, and it's still a magic moment when you hear or see your call sign, coming back. So I was talking to the club and about this. I talked about macros, and I said, now I got to get on my rant here. So many PSK QSOs are an exchange of about 3 macros, and they go on to the next QSO. And I was telling the people, you can do that for your brag, but make it short. But ask the guy at the other end a question. Get into a conversation with the guy. And this guy I was chatting with on Hellschreiber, we went for about 25 minutes. And he picked up on Grass Valley. He worked at a PBS station. He knew the switchers, and there was a lot of background stuff that tied us together too. So.
I think social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, I mean, we've extended the ham community beyond HF, beyond CW, into social networking, which gives us a different way to meet new people in our hobbies, share our experiences, even line up QSOs. If that's what you want to do, talk to Taipei, whatever, line it up through Twitter and coordinate it to make that contact. So I agree with that. I think technology is a lot of fun, but at the end of the day, you're talking to people, right? And it's not necessarily ham mediums that get me excited. It's talking about ham radio in general across every medium that you have access to. That I think is really interesting. That brings us all together.
I'm good.
You're good.
Well, you guys really are the future of amateur radio. All of you. You really are. You bring it to us, and then we'll be the future. We'll follow you. I'll tell you what. You agree, Jerry?
Yeah, I do. And I was just going to say a very special thank you to Chris Matthew. Through Chris, 73s.com, his videos, he's allowed many of us to actually use radio via APRS text messaging, 73s.com, into Twitter to tell people that we're up on top of a mountain top there in Pacific Northwest. And not as good as it gets when you can actually be on top of a mountain and use a ham radio and get tied in and connected into social media and thousands of people that you're about to start calling you on 14.342.5, and you know that's amazing. And that's Chris is right. It's bridged the gap. You know, when I first started being exposed myself to social media, all these postings and stuff, URZ forums and other forums about how, well, social media, Twitter is not ham radio. You know, you need to Twitter, close face, go get on the ham radio. Well, those people are, because, you know, Twitter is not ham radio. All of us that use social media to others to promote the hobby and service of ham radio, you know, to line up QSOs in Taipei or wherever. It's an amazing technology there, and people should use it and learn from it as well. I mean, I have so much from others. Scott, KA3D, who's there in the room, following his tweets, read blog. You know, we're not the only ones that's actually participating in new media. There's a lot of hams that are blogging, and that's all part of new media as well. And these guys are doing a heck of a job in helping to also promote the hobby and service and educate others. And I think we all ought to give these guys a big hand for doing that, because, you know, they write these blogs, they put pictures, they discuss their activities, what they're doing, and it's just it's great stuff.
I agree. I kind of found out really about most of you guys, actually, I guess maybe from Ted Randall actually program. It does a pretty good interview, and enjoyed him. You know, we'll start to wrap it up now, but where do we go from here? Where do you think is the future of amateur radio?
Oh boy, I think this, you know, the sky's the limit. You know, it's whatever.
It's like asking you, what is the square root of pi?
Yeah, that's what's so neat about the hobby. There's all sorts of different things you can play with. If you want to do digital stuff, you want to do slow scan, you want to be doing CW, you want to chase DX, you want to be on 75 meter AM, MCOM, you name it. And there's always new stuff, you know, coming up. There's a lot of the digital modes, the stuff the guys are doing with software. The hardware is basically free. If you got PSK, you've got the setup to do it. I think more instant. I think it'd be great to see more visual, more digital ATV maybe and stuff. I think would be really interesting.
I'd first like to thank Jerry for that nice feedback and plug about the tweets from the ham radio. You know, we're about 1 million hams in the United States. Correct. Close. It's getting up there. I would like to see over the next 3 years if we could double that number. What I see when I travel a lot. I interact with lots of software programmers. I always have a radio on me when I travel, and I'll stick it on the table. And when you start those conversations, like Randy with a guy on the plane, it's like the next level of geekery. It's like your geek card, right? Like when you can tell them about, I talked through a satellite last weekend. They're like, what? Like, how do I do that? So I think every one of us in this room, you know, every blog post we write, every person we talk to on a plane, the more we continue to evangelize ham radio, I think we'll double that number in several years.
Yeah, let's try for that. The future ham radio is you. 2 9-volt batteries and the biggest pickle. 7 a.m. See you here.
Awesome.
Jerry, I'll let you add to that, please.
Well, you know, some old is new and new is old. You know, a lot of people, some people have an idea that, you know, CW dead. That's not true. You know, all of the old technologies are just as clear as the new technologies. That, you know, we should all try everything. And one thing that I noticed, and while I don't take my handheld with me everywhere I go, like Chris, mainly because I usually fit. One of the things that I found is in doing summits on the air, going out and hiking, and especially hiking areas where there's other people. You know, anytime you got up, you know, an antenna and a ham radio, you're always going to draw. People want to come over and see what it is that you're doing. And I have it that I can handily available that I have in my pack, because, you know, a lot of the people that are out hiking and mountain bike stuff like that, they already are interested in the outdoors. And so taking that further and getting them interested in amateur radio so that while they're on the top of a mountain, they can set up an antenna, a couple of contacts, log 4 QSOs, SOTA activation count, and go back to the next one. So doing it to different people at the same time, just something back and just appreciate having the opportunity to do.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up about, getting involved with new things. That's what's so great about the Pacificon show is there's 10 forums running simultaneously now for the next day and a half. So you got a lot of opportunity to go sit and listen to something new. This really revs me up now for the fall season to go home and play with different things. So it's a great opportunity. You got, people who are doing all sorts of stuff that are, really putting forth a great effort here this weekend. So. We talked about that.
Yeah, I get a lot of people say, why do you have so much? I can't see it all. And I would go, because I want you to come back next year, and the year after, and the year after, and you still won't see it all because we'll have new stuff. It's so cool. But no, I cannot thank each and every one of you so much. Gordo, Chris, Randy, and Jerry. You guys are all great friends, great people, and you made it for a fantastic evening. All right, 7-3s, everybody. From Pacificon, this is Jim AF6PU. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. That was a really special night. I got to say, I think we got probably a little bit of just a little bit of business here,